The massive silver doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a deep hum. Admiral Kim Day walked through them, his black uniform crisp and his face calm. Behind him followed three other humans, Commander Park Sol, General Lee Min, and Captain Chobin. Their footsteps echoed in the enormous hall made of crystal that reached up so high the ceiling disappeared into darkness. Around them sat representatives from 12 different alien species. The hegemony. They had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years, and every single species they had ever met had bowed down to them without question. Today, they expected the same from humanity. Kim Day stopped at the center of the chamber. Above him, a creature that looked like a giant silver spider with 4 arms and glowing red eyes leaned forward. This was High Admiral Velnash, speaker for the hegemony. When it spoke, a machine translated its clicking sounds into human words. Humans of Earth, the voice was cold and mechanical. You have spread to 47 star systems without our permission. You have built colonies, space stations, and fleets. This ends today. The other aliens around the chamber made various sounds. Some clicked, others roared, a few made musical notes. All of them sounded pleased. They enjoyed watching new species learn their place. Kim Day said nothing. He simply waited. Velnash continued. The hegemony offers you terms. You will abandon 23 of your colonies. You will give us control of all your military ships. You will pay us 30% of everything your worlds produce each year. You will accept our governors on every human world. These terms are generous. Accept them. Commander Park Sol stepped forward slightly, but Kim Day raised his hand to stop her. The human admiral's face showed no emotion as he looked up at the towering alien. And if we refuse? Kim Day asked quietly. The chamber erupted in alien laughter. It sounded like a nightmare symphony of screeches, roars, and electronic beeps. Some aliens slammed their appendages on their platforms. Others showed their teeth, or fangs. The laughter went on for a full minute. When it finally stopped, Velnash leaned even closer. Refuse. No species has ever refused the hegemony. Do you know why? Enlighten me, Kim Day replied. Because the last species that tried to resist us no longer exists. Their worlds are empty rocks floating in space. Their cities are dust. Their children never learned to speak because there were no children. They became extinct because they thought they were strong enough to fight us. The alien gestured with 2 of its 4 arms toward the chamber walls. Holographic images appeared showing destroyed planets, burned cities, and empty space where civilizations once lived. The Kaleth Rebellion lasted 6 months. The Grim Defense lasted 3 weeks. The Zora Resistance lasted 11 days. How long do you think humanity will last? General Lee Min's jaw tightened, but he remained silent. Captain Chobin's hand moved slightly toward her sidearm before she caught herself. Kim Day noticed both reactions, but his own expression never changed. You seem very confident, Kim Day said. We have fleets that can destroy stars. We have weapons that can crack planets in half. We have soldiers who have conquered 1,000 worlds. What do humans have? A few hundred ships? Some metal and plastic? Colonies on worthless rocks? You are insects pretending to be dragons. Another wave of alien laughter filled the chamber. This time it was louder and more mocking. Kim Day waited for it to end. Then he spoke in the same calm voice he had used throughout the meeting. The United Human Federation has considered your offer carefully. The aliens leaned forward expecting the usual surrender speech they had heard so many times before. We respectfully decline. The laughter stopped instantly. The chamber fell completely silent. Several aliens made choking sounds. Velnash's 4 eyes grew wider. Decline? The translator seemed to struggle with the word. You refuse our generous terms? That is correct. You choose war with the hegemony? Kim Day finally smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. War was your choice the moment you decided humanity needed to kneel. We are simply accepting your declaration. Velnash reared back as if it had been struck. You cannot be serious. You would choose extinction over submission? We choose freedom over slavery. We choose dignity over safety. We choose to stand rather than kneel. Kim Dae's voice grew stronger. And if you think that means we choose extinction, then you have seriously misunderstood what humanity is capable of. The human delegation turned and began walking toward the exit. As they reached the silver doors, Kim Dae stopped and looked back over his shoulder. Oh, and Admiral Velnash, you might want to ask your intelligence services what happened to the last 3 species who threatened humanity directly. I think you'll find the reports educational. The doors slid shut behind them. In the chamber, chaos erupted as aliens shouted, clicked, and roared at each other. But Velnash sat quietly, suddenly remembering something. 3 species had gone missing in the past century. Their worlds had simply gone silent. The hegemony had assumed they had destroyed themselves in civil wars. Now, for the first time in 3,000 years, Velnash wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. The war fleet was already being prepared. 200 ships would attack the human colony of Haven's Rest within the week. It would be a simple demonstration of power. At least, that was the plan. The space around Haven's Rest looked peaceful. The small human colony orbited a blue-green planet, with 30 ships moving slowly in defensive patterns. It was exactly what the hegemony expected from a primitive species trying to protect their home. Admiral Velthak commanded the hegemony attack fleet from his massive flagship. 200 warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their weapons already charging. Each ship was 3 times larger than the biggest human vessel. This would be over quickly. Open communication channel, Velthak ordered. His voice would show these humans what real power looked like. On the human colony ship, Colonel Song Hai sat in her command chair. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and graying hair. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. No one seemed worried, even though they were outnumbered 7-1. Incoming transmission from the hegemony fleet, reported Lieutenant Yoon-ji. Put it through, Song Hai said calmly. Velthak's image appeared on the screen. The alien looked like a giant insect with metal parts attached to its body. Its voice was harsh and threatening. Human colony, you are surrounded. Surrender immediately and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will make your suffering last. For days. Song Hai stood up slowly. She looked directly at the alien admiral and smiled. Admiral Velthak, isn't it? We've been expecting you. The alien's compound eyes blinked in surprise. Expecting us? How do you know my name? We know lots of things about you. We know you graduated 3rd in your class at the Hegemony War Academy. We know you like to eat live Zephyrian beetles for breakfast. We know you have a scar on your left arm from your first battle 20 years ago. Velthak stepped back from his communication screen. How could these primitives know such personal details? Song Hai continued talking. We also know you're about to make the biggest mistake of your very long military career. You dare threaten me? I have 200 ships. Yes, you do. And in about 6 hours, you'll have 0 ships. Velthak cut the communication and turned to his officers. Begin the attack, destroy them all. The hegemony fleet moved forward in a standard attack formation. Their weapons lit up space with deadly energy beams. The first shots should have destroyed half the human ships instantly. Instead, the human ships simply weren't there anymore. Where did they go? Velthak shouted. Sir, they just vanished, his tactical officer reported. All 30 ships disappeared from our sensors. Then the real battle began. Human ships appeared everywhere at once. They came from behind asteroids, from inside the planet's rings, from places where no ships should have been able to hide. But these weren't the same 30 ships the hegemony had seen before. There were hundreds of them. Captain Ryu Seok commanded one of the hidden human fleets. His ship, the Silent Thunder, had been waiting inside a hollow asteroid for 3 weeks. When the hegemony arrived, he was ready. All ships, execute Shadow Protocol, he ordered. The human ships moved like nothing the hegemony had ever seen. They were faster, more agile, and their weapons cut through alien shields like they were made of paper. Worse, they seemed to know exactly where every hegemony ship would be before it got there. On Velthak's bridge, alarms screamed constantly. His ships were being destroyed faster than his crew could count them. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Their technology is supposed to be primitive. Sir, they're using our own tactics against us," his communications officer reported. "But they're doing them better than we do." The truth was more terrible than Velthak could imagine. For 50 years, humanity had been watching the hegemony. Every battle, every tactic, every weakness had been studied and recorded. Human spies had lived among the alien species, learning their languages, their customs, their military secrets. Captain Namsu piloted her fighter through the chaos of battle. She had trained for this moment her entire adult life. Every human soldier had. They knew this war was coming because they had been planning for it. "Target the command ship," she told her squadron. "Take out their communications first." The human fighters moved in perfect coordination. They didn't just attack randomly. Every shot was planned, every movement calculated. They had run this exact battle in simulation thousands of times. Within 4 hours, half the hegemony fleet was destroyed. The survivors tried to retreat, but they found their escape routes blocked by more human ships that had been waiting in hyperspace. Admiral Velthak watched his mighty fleet fall apart around him. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were being torn apart by humans who weren't supposed to be able to fight back. "Sir, we have to abandon ship," his first officer said. "The humans are targeting our bridge." As Velthak climbed into his escape pod, he saw something that would haunt him forever. The human ships weren't just destroying his fleet, they were capturing ships intact, learning from them, taking their technology. "They planned this," he whispered. "All of it. They wanted us to attack." The battle ended at exactly 6 hours, just as Colonel Songhae had predicted. Of the 200 hegemony ships, 173 were destroyed. 27 were captured with their crews alive. The humans lost 0 ships. As rescue ships collected the alien survivors, Songhae opened a communication channel to the entire hegemony fleet. "This message is for the hegemony high command. You wanted to test our strength. Consider this your answer. Next time, perhaps you should ask nicely instead of making threats." The news of the impossible defeat spread across the galaxy within hours. The mighty hegemony, rulers of 1,000 worlds, had been crushed by 30 human ships. But the survivors knew the terrible truth. It hadn't been 30 ships at all. It had been a trap 50 years in the making. The defeat at Haven's Rest sent shockwaves through hegemony space. In the grand war room on their capital world, 5 alien generals stood around a massive holographic map of the galaxy. Each one represented a different species in their alliance, and all of them were angry. General Kexthul slammed his 6-fingered hand on the table. "Impossible! 30 primitive ships cannot defeat 200 of our best vessels." "Yet, it happened," replied Admiral Zorvan, her snake-like body coiling with frustration. "The question is how." High Commander Velnash studied the battle reports with his 4 eyes. The data made no sense. Human ships had appeared from nowhere, moved faster than should be possible, and used weapons that cut through their best shields, like they were made of thin paper. "We underestimated them," he admitted finally. "But that ends now. Prepare 5 full battle fleets. 2,000 ships total. We will attack 5 human colonies at the same time. Even if they have tricks, they cannot be everywhere at once." On Earth, General Hanwoo received the intelligence report in his underground command center. The room was filled with screens showing every corner of human space. Officers moved quietly between workstations, coordinating the defense of 47 colonies scattered across dozens of star systems. "Sir, our deep space sensors show 5 massive hegemony fleets heading toward our colonies," reported Captain Namsu. "Each fleet has 400 ships." Hanwoo nodded calmly. He was an old man with white hair and kind eyes, but those who knew him understood he was one of the most dangerous military minds humanity had ever produced. "Which colonies are they targeting?" he asked. "New Sol, Eden Prime, Prosperity Station, and the twin mining worlds of Hope and Haven." And our response? Lieutenant Yoon-ji stepped forward with a tablet full of data. "Operation Deep Strike is ready. All shadow fleets are in position. Ghost Squadron reports ready. The Phantom Division is standing by." Hanwoo allowed himself a small smile. The hegemony thought they were fighting 30 ships at Haven's Rest. They had no idea what humanity had really built over the past 50 years. The truth was terrifying in its simplicity. Every human colony wasn't just a place where people lived. It was a fortress designed to look peaceful. Every trade ship that traveled between human worlds carried hidden weapons. Every civilian who lived on the frontier had been trained to fight from childhood. But most importantly, humanity had learned the most important lesson in galactic warfare. Never let your enemy see your real strength until it's too late. The first. Hegemony fleet reached New Sol and found exactly what they expected. A small colony with a few defensive ships and some orbital platforms. Nothing that could threaten 400 warships. Fleet Admiral Morgath gave the order to attack. Destroy the defensive ships first, then begin bombing the colony. Make it slow so the other humans can watch and learn. The hegemony ships moved into attack formation, their weapons charged up, ready to rain destruction on the helpless humans. Below, then space around them exploded into chaos. Ships appeared from everywhere. They came out of asteroid fields where no ships should be able to hide. They emerged from behind the planet's 3 moons. They dropped out of hyperspace in perfect attack formations. Hundreds of them. But these weren't just any ships. They moved, like living things, flowing around the hegemony formation like water around rocks. Their weapons fired in perfect coordination, targeting specific weak points on alien vessels with surgical precision. Captain Park Mina commanded the hidden fleet from her flagship, the Steel Wind. She had been waiting in the asteroid belt for 2 months, her ship disguised as a large space rock. When the aliens arrived, she was ready. All units execute hammer protocol, she ordered. The human attack was devastating. They didn't just shoot at the enemy ships randomly. Every shot was calculated, every movement planned. They targeted engines, first to prevent escape, then weapons to stop return fire, then life support to force surrender. The same scene played out at all 5 target colonies. The hegemony's mighty fleets found themselves surrounded, outgunned, and completely outmaneuvered by an enemy that seemed to appear from thin air. At Eden Prime, Commander Li Jun watched the alien fleet fall apart on his tactical display. "Sir, the enemy is requesting permission to surrender," his communications officer reported. "Tell them to power down all weapons and prepare to be boarded," Li Jun replied. "And remind them that any ship that tries to run will be destroyed immediately." The battle at Prosperity Station lasted only 3 hours. The mining worlds fell in 2. New Sol's attackers were defeated so quickly that some human civilians didn't even realize a battle had taken place. When the smoke cleared, the hegemony had lost nearly 1,500 ships across 5 battles. The humans had lost 12 fighters and 1 corvette. In his command bunker, Admiral Velnash stared at the reports in disbelief. How had humans hidden so many ships? Where had they gotten such advanced technology? Why were their tactics so perfect? The answer came from his intelligence chief, a spider-like creature with multiple brains. "Sir, we've been monitoring human communications. They've been preparing for this war for 50 years. Every colony is a trap. Every trade route is monitored. Every civilian is a trained soldier." "That's impossible," Velnash whispered. "Sir, I'm afraid it gets worse. Our analysis suggests that what we've seen so far is just their local defense forces. They haven't even deployed their main battle fleets yet." Velnash felt something he had never experienced in 300 years of conquest. Fear. The humans hadn't just been ready for war. They had been hoping for it. 6 months had passed since the war began, and the galaxy watched in shock as the impossible continued to happen. The mighty hegemony, rulers of 1,000 worlds, were losing to humans they had called primitive insects. Indy, the hegemony capital, panic filled the council chambers. Representatives from 12 species argued loudly, their various sounds creating chaos. Some clicked angrily, others roared, and a few made high-pitched whistles of fear. "This is madness," shouted General Kexthul, his massive form shaking with rage. "We have lost over 3,000 ships. 3,000! Admiral Zorvan coiled, her snake-like body tighter around her chair. "The humans are not fighting like any species we have ever encountered. They appear everywhere at once. They know our movements before we make them. High Commander Velnash stood at the center of the chaos, his 4 eyes dim with exhaustion. In 6 months, he had aged what felt like 50 years. "Silence," he commanded. "We must decide our next move." "Retreat," whispered Commander Yixtal, a small creature that looked like a walking plant. "We should sue for peace before they destroy us all." The suggestion caused an explosion of angry sounds. The idea of the hegemony surrendering to anyone was unthinkable. They had never lost a war. They had never even had to fight a real war. Meanwhile, in human space, Admiral Li Jun stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Retribution. Around him, holographic displays showed the entire galaxy. Red dots marked hegemony worlds. Blue dots showed human colonies, and green dots showed the massive human fleets that were about to change everything. "Status report," Li Jun requested calmly. Commander Park Mina stepped forward with her datapad. "All strike fleets report ready. Operation Reversal is prepared. To begin on your command." "How many ships do we have in position?" 800 vessels spread across 12 attack groups. Each group is targeting a major hegemony world. Li Jun nodded. For 6 months, humanity had played defense, letting the aliens attack and destroying their fleets. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humans could do when they stopped holding back. "Signal all fleet commanders. Begin the offensive." The human counterattack began at exactly the same moment across dozens of star systems. It was the largest coordinated military operation in galactic history, and it was planned with the precision of a master chess player. Captain Cho Bin led the attack on the hegemony world of Krathos. Her fleet of 60 ships dropped out of hyperspace to find a heavily defended planet with orbital weapons platforms, fighter squadrons, and a defensive fleet of 80 vessels. "Impressive defenses," she commented to her tactical officer. "How long to neutralize them?" "Estimated 15 minutes, Captain. Make it 10. The human ships moved like a school of fish, flowing around enemy fire while their own weapons found every weak point in the alien defenses. They had studied hegemony tactics for decades. They knew exactly how these aliens would respond to every situation. On Krathos, Admiral Vektar watched his planetary defenses crumble in minutes. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Our shields should stop their weapons." "Sir, they're targeting the shield generators directly," his tactical officer reported. "They know exactly where our weak points are." "Then how do they know our ship designs better than we do?" The answer was simple but terrifying. For 50 years, human spies had worked inside hegemony space. They had studied every ship, every weapon, every tactic. They had even helped design some of the alien technology, building hidden weaknesses into it that only humans knew about. At the same time, 12 other battles raged across hegemony space. Human fleets struck at industrial worlds, military bases, and command centers. Each attack was perfectly timed and brutally effective. General Seo Min commanded the assault on the hegemony's main shipyard at Nexus Prime. The massive space station had been building warships for 200 years. It was protected by the largest defensive fleet in alien space. "Sir, enemy fleet moving to intercept. 150 ships," reported her communications officer. "Let them come," Seo Min replied. "All ships, implement Thunder Protocol." The human fleet split into 3 groups, each attacking from a different angle. They used the space station's own size against it, forcing the defenders to choose between protecting the shipyard and fighting the human ships. The battle was over in 20 minutes. The greatest shipyard in hegemony space was now a floating wreck. Back on the hegemony capital, emergency reports flooded in from across their empire. 12 major worlds under attack. Industrial centers destroyed. Military bases captured. Supply lines cut. "We're losing the war," Admiral Zorvan said quietly. High Commander Velnash stared at the tactical display showing the collapse of their empire. "No, we've already lost. The question is whether we surrender now or wait for them to destroy us. Completely." "Sir," his communications officer interrupted. "We're receiving a transmission from the human fleet commander." Admiral Li Jun's image appeared on the screen. He looked calm, professional, and completely in control. To the Hegemony High Command, he began. You wanted to show humanity its place in the galaxy. Consider your lesson learned. You now have two choices. Surrender unconditionally, or we will continue this demonstration of human military capability until your civilization no longer exists. You have 24 hours to decide. The transmission ended, leaving the alien leaders in stunned silence. For the first time in 3,000 years, the hegemony faced extinction, and humanity wasn't even fighting at full strength yet. Above the hegemony capital world of Zephyr, Prime, the last remnants of once the most powerful military force in the galaxy waited in desperate formation. 800 ships, all that remained of the mighty fleets that had conquered 1,000 worlds, floated in space like wounded animals. Admiral Vecthar stood on his flagship's bridge, staring out at the stars. His forearms trembled slightly as he gripped the command rail. In 1 year, he had watched his empire crumble. Dozens of worlds had fallen to human forces. Millions of ships had been destroyed or captured. The species that made up the hegemony were abandoning the alliance, fleeing to the far edges of the galaxy. Sir, long-range sensors detect a single ship approaching, his tactical officer reported. Vekthar's compound eyes focused on the display. One ship. After everything they had witnessed of human military might, the enemy was sending one ship to face their final fleet. What class of vessel? He asked. Unknown design, sir. It's larger than their usual ships, but still smaller than our dreadnoughts. The human ship dropped out of hyperspace with impossible grace. It was sleek and black, with strange curves that seemed to bend light around it. Along its hull, weapons ports glowed with contained energy. The name painted on its side was visible, even from a distance, HMS Inevitability. Captain Oh Xiong sat alone in the ship's command center. Around him, holographic displays showed the enemy formation in perfect detail. Behind him, the ship's artificial intelligence spoke in calm, measured tones. All systems at optimal efficiency. Defensive barriers active. Offensive capabilities at full charge. How long? Oh Sung asked quietly. Estimated engagement time, 16 minutes, 43 seconds. Oh Sung nodded. The Inevitability was humanity's newest warship, built with technology taken from captured hegemony vessels and improved beyond their original design. It represented 50 years of human engineering, planning, and preparation. Admiral Vecthar opened a communication channel to the human ship. I am Admiral Vecthar of the Hegemony Fleet. You face 800 ships with but one. Surrender now, and we may yet show mercy. Oh Seung's image appeared on the alien bridge. He was a young man with calm eyes and a slight smile. Admiral, I appreciate the offer, but I'm afraid you misunderstand the situation. What situation? You are outnumbered 800 to 1. No, Admiral. You are surrounded by one. Before Vecthar could ask what that meant, the battle began. The Inevitability moved unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. It flowed through space like liquid light, its weapons firing in every direction at once. Each shot found its target with impossible accuracy. Hegemony ships exploded or simply stopped working as their systems were disabled with surgical precision. The alien fleet tried to surround the single human ship, but it moved too fast, appeared in too many places at once. Some crew members swore they saw multiple copies of the same vessel attacking from different directions. How is this possible? Vecthar screamed as his ships fell around him like leaves in a storm. The truth was both simple and terrifying. The Inevitability wasn't just one ship. It was a new type of vessel that could create temporary copies of itself using advanced projection technology. Each copy was real enough to fight, real enough to destroy enemy ships, real enough to be everywhere, at once. Captain Namsu watched from her hiding place in the asteroid belt as the final battle unfolded. She commanded one of 12 human fleets positioned around the battle zone, ready to assist if needed. But as she watched the Inevitability tear through the hegemony formation, she realized help wouldn't be necessary. Captain, should we move? To assist? Her tactical officer asked. No, Namsu replied quietly. Let them see what one human ship can do. Let the galaxy remember this moment. 15 minutes into the battle, half the hegemony fleet was destroyed. The survivors tried to retreat, but found their engines disabled by precise weapon strikes. They were trapped, helpless, waiting for the end. Admiral Vekthar's flagship was one of the last ships still functional. Alarms screamed throughout the bridge as systems failed one by one. His crew looked at him with eyes full of terror and defeat. "Sir, the human ship is requesting communication," his communications officer reported. Oh Shung's face appeared on the screen again. Behind him, the stars wheeled slowly as his ship continued its deadly dance through the debris of the hegemony fleet. "Admiral Vekthar, your fleet is defeated. Order your remaining ships to power down their weapons and prepare to be taken into custody." "Why?" Vekthar asked, his voice broken. "Why don't you just destroy us and be done with it?" Oshung's expression softened slightly. "Because that's not who we are. You wanted to show us our place in the galaxy. Instead, you've shown us yours. The war is over. Your people need leaders who can help them rebuild, not martyrs who choose meaningless death." The final battle ended at exactly 17 minutes, just as the ship's AI had predicted. The hegemony's last fleet surrendered without further resistance. 3 months later, the former hegemony worlds existed under human protection. Food, medicine, and technology flowed freely to help rebuild what the war had destroyed. The various alien species found themselves better fed, better housed, and safer than they had been under their own empire. In a small settlement on former hegemony space, an old alien sat with his younglings, teaching them about the war. His species looked like walking trees with multiple eyes. "Remember this lesson well," he said, his voice rustling like leaves. "The humans offered us peace first. We chose war instead. Now we know why they tried to warn us away from that path." One of the younglings asked, "Grandfather, why didn't the humans destroy us when they won?" The old alien looked up at the stars where human ships patrolled peacefully, protecting his world from raiders and pirates. "Because, little one, true strength is not the ability to destroy your enemies. True strength is the wisdom to turn your enemies into friends. The humans understood this, we did not." The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity stood as the dominant power, not through cruelty or conquest, but because they had proven that threatening them was a fatal mistake, while befriending them brought prosperity and protection. The age of human guardianship had begun, and the stars were more peaceful than they had been in 1,000 years.